Hi, and today we're going to be going through 10 car manufacturers which have the worst reliability in detailing specific models and their common issues and how often do these issues occur. Number 1, Land Rover. So specifically the models the Discovery Sport and the Range Rover. In terms of the issues, especially the Discovery Sport, they often face electric car issues, suspension problems and engine faults. So in terms of the suspension, this is caused because these cars are luxury cars and they use the air suspension. So as the car starts to get old, that starts to degrade. So as a result, you need to get that fixed. So approximately 46% of Discovery owners, they report significant faults such as the battery, the brake and the fuel system, which are very common. As obviously if it's the fuel system, then you have to take back the car to the dealership to get that fixed, and the repair cost, they are very expensive. You can bet you're gonna pay an arm and a leg. So if you are one of those car owners who own this car who reached 50,000 kilometers without any faults, you are very lucky, because that's the kilometers that most of the people start to report faults. So if you're buying this car as a second hand, definitely you're gonna need to get some of these things fixed. But other people, they are not so lucky, especially if you watch the car reviews. Most of these type of cars, they get such issues when they're still new, when they're still getting reviewed by the car journalist, such as problems with the infotainment system, the glitches, such things. So moving on to the next car is Peugeot or Peugeot, whatever way that you want to pronounce it. So it's basically the 3008 SUV, the one that comes with the 1.2 liter engine. I mean, what do you expect when you put a small engine in an SUV? Obviously you're gonna encounter a lot of problems, because now you're putting a lot of strain on that small engine to move a lot of weight, and that is exactly what we see. So in terms of the problems in terms of this car, many of them are recurrent, which means that they come, even though they get fixed, they still come back again. So the problems are with the build quality of the engine. As a result, we see a lot of oil leaks and a lot of turbocharger failure, and obviously once you lose the turbo, especially on such a small engine, eventually you're gonna lose a lot of power and you're gonna need to take back the car to get fixed. So a lot of these issues, they arise about 75.7 in terms of surveyed cars. So a lot of cars, which means just roughly around 25% of the cars which are produced, which is this model, doesn't encounter any problems. So you'll be very lucky if you are that individual that falls within the 25% and not within the 75%. So a lot of issues that are also being reported has to do with the timing belt degradation, and you know the timing belt, how important it is. Once you lose that, most of the time you actually lose the engine, and that's bye car. You have to junk your car. So most of these issues, they start at around 60,000 kilometers, which is not a lot of kilometers, because that's the kilometers that most people, they start to take back the car to the dealership so that they can get another car. So if you come across such a car, these are some of the issues that you have to look for, and make sure that all these issues, if they've occurred before, they've been fixed, so that you don't get ripped off and you buy a car that has recurrent issues. That's gonna happen again. Car brand number 3, it goes all the way from Italy. We're talking about the Fiat 500 and the Fiat Punto. So in terms of the issues that these cars arise, most of them, they have gearbox failures and electrical problems. This type of issues, I've heard that they also occur in terms of the Renault Clio. So I'm just not sure in terms of the percentage, in terms of how much and how many cars get affected by such. But in terms of this video, we're focusing on the Fiat 500 and the Fiat Punto. So these issues rise at approximately 76.5% of Fiat owners have reported their cars having these issues. So as a result, because these cars, they come all the way from Italy, they've reported that also the repair costs, they are very high as they visit the mechanic, because they have to order the parts, and those parts, they take long to arrive, and also you have to pay shipping fees most of the time. So some of these issues, they start at around 70,000 kilometers or later. So that's still very low kilometers. So definitely that's another car to look at, and why this car has made the list, and why I'm noting it at number 3 of the top 10 manufacturers which have issues that most people need to look at or look for or look away in terms of buying a used car. Moving away from Italy, we start to visit the Germans, the ones which put a lot of tech in their cars. Specifically here we're focused on Volkswagen. So specifically the models that we're going to talk about is the Polo, the Golf Polo, not the Golf Polo, and the Touran. So in terms of the older models are the ones which suffer a lot of these issues, such as the engine and transmission issues. The Touareg has experiences in terms of their diesel engine has a problem with the filter and electronics, but because this is the Germans, surprisingly not a lot of people have reported such issues. Only 21% of Volkswagen owners have reported such faults, and only 9% has reported facing a lot in terms of expenses to fix these things. But I can respect them that the issues they start over 80,000 kilometers in terms of this car, in terms of ownership. So that's still durable, and also considering that it affects not a lot of people, but still it still doesn't excuse it from being included in this list. So the Germans have made the list at number 4. So moving on to the next manufacturer. So the other manufacturer that has made the list at number 5, we're talking about a C3 and C4 Citroen Picasso. In terms of the issues, most of these issues they affect the older models. So these cars have been known to have very unreliable air conditioning, which means that if you live in a very hot climate, you're gonna encounter a lot of issues. And the other major issue that the cars have is their braking system. Just imagine you're driving down the road, you're doing approximately 120 kilometers per hour or more, and suddenly you're trying to brake and your car has brakes issues at that time. Just imagine that. Sometimes that's a life or death threatening type of situation. So over 53% of the owners have reported such faults, and as a result it led this car to be branded in terms of poor reliability ratings by most of the car reviewers and most of the owners. So that's why this car made this list. So moving back to the Germans, we're talking about number 6, the one that is built for luxury. We're talking about Mercedes-Benz. I feel kind of bad like putting this manufacturer, because a few days ago I was looking at a C-Class that I almost bought, which the C-Class is also included in this list. The other model of the car is the GLC, and the A-Class, the hybrid. I don't think as in the South African market we need to worry much about the hybrid, especially since we have Eskom, so not a lot of people are buying hybrid. So in terms of the older GLC and the C-Class model, they often face a lot of electronics and suspension problem. In terms of electronics, you're not surprised. The more technology that you put in a car, the more it's going to be prone to have a lot of issues, especially as the car starts to get old. So in terms of the A-Class, the hybrid, obviously if it's a hybrid, that hybrid battery is going to degrade over time. The more it gets recharged, the more it gets used. So that one is not really a surprise. So the surprising thing is the number that in terms of about 78.4% of the owners, they report these issues in terms of the Mercedes-Benz. But these issues, they often arise after 75,000 kilometers. So talking about the C-Class that I was looking at, that one had 50,000 kilometers. Makes me wonder if the owner wanted to sell it because they were seeing a lot of problems. So that's still enough for another day. So moving on to the next manufacturer. The other manufacturer that is included here, we have to go all the way to America. We're talking about Ford, the Ford Fiesta and the Ford Kuga. The Ford Kuga, we know that one, it has a lot of issues, and specifically when we talk about spontaneous combustion and the car just bursts into flames, that one is well known for that, especially in our market. So in terms of these two cars, they have a lot of transmission problems, specifically in terms of the power shift, gearbox, and the engine faults. So this affects a lot of modern vehicles and also the older models. So significant number of owners have been reporting such issues. As a result, that's why we've included it in the list. But you just need to note that most of these issues, they occur after 90,000 kilometers of ownership of the car. Moving on to a manufacturer that most of us cannot afford their cars. We're talking about Porsche, specifically the Macan or the 718 Cayman. So these two cars, they've been known to have issues such as the electrical system, the engine components, and approximately 77.9 in terms of the car owners have reported their cars having such issues. Yeah, but because it's a Porsche, obviously they needed to cough up a lot of money, so most of the owners, they were not happy, and as a result, that's why we find this car in terms of this list. So let's talk about another manufacturer, the one all the way from the Germans. So definitely the Germans, because they put a lot of technology, they always have a lot of issues. So now we're talking about Audi. So Audi is a division of Volkswagen. So if you know that Volkswagen, they own Audi, they own Lamborghini, they also own Bugatti. So today we're talking about the Audi, specifically in terms of the model, the A6, the A4, the Q5, and the Q3. So a lot of models in terms of the Audi have issues, as well as the car starts to age. So they don't age like fine wine because they start to have a lot of issues. So specifically in terms of the A6 and the A4, they suffer a lot of expensive repairs. Obviously they're expensive because they're the Germans, they're built to be expensive. So a lot of things that start to break is the electrical issues because of all that technology that have been put there and made so cheaply. So the Q5 and the Q3, those ones, they will have major faults that you know that you can live with, such as the engine and transmission problems. So you know, once you reach that, yeah, your car is gone. So approximately 73.4% of the owners, they've reported such issues. So something to note, these issues, they arise at approximately 65,000 kilometers. So once your car reach that certain mileage, it's going to start to have problems. So if you're on the used market for such a car, just be wary that once it approaches such kilometers, you must start to have issues. So these are the issues that you need to look for, so that you know and you don't get shocked when it starts to happen, and you know that your pocket has money in order to fix that. So moving on to the last manufacturer, we are talking about the Jaguar XF XE. So the Jaguar constantly, it always ranks very low in terms of reliability, and the problems that this car usually face is electrical faults, engine issues, and as a result they lead to very high repair cost, and approximately 76% of the owners, they report having such issues. And we know that there's a lot of people who love cars. At the end of the day, you need to buy the car that you like, but if you buy the Jaguar XF or XE, just know that these are some of the issues that you might have. And another thing that you need to know in terms of the kilometers, when these issues start to arise, they're going to arise from 85,000 or later. So that has been me giving you a list of 10 manufacturer cars and their models which have a lot of issues, and those issues that you need to look at, and in terms of the percentage of owners that have reported such issues. And thank you for watching. For those who have stayed this long in terms of this video, please consider subscribing for my channel for more videos. I'm aiming for at least 1,000 subscribers by the end of December, but I cannot do it alone. I can only do it with you. Just clicking that subscribe button and leaving a like and a comment below. I would really appreciate that, and I'll see you sometime, same place. Bye bye.